Welcome to the Hack the Entrepreneur Top 10, where we dive into the 10 most popular, deepest diving, and most transformative interviews from over 200 of the world's most interesting and brightest entrepreneurs. To get the full experience and to hear new episodes every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, visit hacktheentrepreneur.com.
Welcome to Hack the Entrepreneur, the show which reveals the fears, habits, and inner battles behind big-name entrepreneurs and those on their way to joining them. Now here is your host, John Naster.
Welcome back to Hack the Entrepreneur. I am John Naster, but you can call me Johnny. Today's guest has been an entrepreneur most of his life, having started at 18 and failing twice before finally figuring it out. Now he's an award-winning Canadian entrepreneur and the founder of Clarity, a venture-backed startup that makes it easy to connect with top business minds over the phone. He previously co-founded Flowtown, a San Francisco-based social marketing product which raised funding, grew to over 50,000 small business customers, and was eventually acquired in 2011. A year later, he was named Canada's top angel investor, having completed over 33 investments with companies like Udemy, Intercom, and Unbounce. Now, let's hack Dan Martell. FreshBooks makes dead simple cloud accounting software that's transformed how 5 million entrepreneurs deal with their day-to-day paperwork. As the exclusive sponsor of Hack the Entrepreneur's Top 10, FreshBooks is sharing their very own top 10 tips on how entrepreneurs can save time, reduce stress, and make their businesses run more smoothly. Tip number 7. Manage your business expenses as they happen. The FreshBooks mobile app lets you take pictures of your receipts with your phone while you're out and about. This means all your expenses are organized for tax time or when you're doing an expense report. This is only a fraction of what FreshBooks can do for you. Get 30 days free to feel the full effect of FreshBooks on you and your small business. Go to freshbooks.com/hack and enter hack in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Welcome back to Hack the Entrepreneur. Today we have a great guest, a fellow Canadian. I love these ones. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Hey, thanks for having me, John.
Oh, this is going to be fun. All right, Dan, let's jump right into this. Dan, as an entrepreneur, can you tell me what the one thing is that you do that you feel has been the biggest contributor so far to your successes?
So that's a tough question because there's a lot of things. But if you're going to twist my arm and make me pick one, I'm going to say that it is probably my approach to people and predominantly around a true passion and really blessed and a gift, I guess, that I'm genuinely curious and interested in people. Like that's just what it's my default state. It's what I do every day. And it just turns out when you build relationships with people that are amazing, great things happen.
Do you take this approach now to say when you're hiring people or when you're creating a company or deciding even to invest within a company? Is it based is there a lot of the basis on the people that are involved in it rather than actually maybe a product or a service or an
Oh yeah. I mean, I almost feel like I could get a tattoo called Powered by People. I mean, my whole life, everything, both mentors, advisors, and that's why I say, if you made me pick one thing, all the amazing moments and experiences. I mean, I got to spend a week with Richard Branson at his house in Switzerland. That came because of 4 years prior, building a relationship with somebody and just being helpful. And, and again, it's just who I am. I think it's something you can learn, but people talk about networking. I really hate that word. I don't believe in networking. I don't have a business card. I believe in connecting with people and trying to genuinely create a relationship with them of based on shared passion or interest or whatever. And from that, yeah, hire people. I've raised venture capital that way. It's how I invest. I mean, if I in my gut, I don't feel you're a good person, it's a quick no.
So, I mean, Dan Martell, now you've built companies, you've sold 2 companies, I believe, at this point. Now you have Clarity, which is doing phenomenally. It's like a kind of an ever-present thing on the internet at this point. And people would listen and say, well, it's easy for you. I mean, you get to go hang out with Richard Branson and stuff. But when you were 18 and starting out as an entrepreneur, how did you get out to meet these people? Not network, but How do you know what I mean? How do you get started in that?
Yeah, well, I wrote a blog. I
enough.
think I wrote a blog post today that essentially I call it friendventory. I think a lot of people don't ever take a friendventory and cut people out of their lives. So it really started with that. It was realizing that I didn't know any other entrepreneurs at 17 trying to build a tech company. And the best thing I had was my buddy Nick, who used to argue with me that it was smart to be late to meetings with customers because it would show them that you were so good that you were busy. And I just thought, this is ridiculous. So through that necessity, I started, cold emailing people and going to events and really just trying to spend more time with people that I felt had shared interests, passions, and desires, people that I felt were lifting me up versus, the high school friends that all they did was get drunk and party on weekends. And it just started all of a sudden, my life, my businesses started to succeed because I got better advice. I met smarter people. I met super motivated people that would support me when things were tough. And so, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're starting off or you're established, you're Elon Musk or you're, Bill Gates for that matter. Everything they do, once you realize it's such a powerful thing that everything created in the world were created by normal people, right? It's just you either decide to be deliberate about that or you just be reactive to whatever the world gives you. And I'm just not. I'm trying to do too much, and I have some big goals set for myself, and that requires to be super deliberate.
For friendventory or surrounding yourself with people who want you to succeed, I believe you tweeted the other day. Surround yourself with people who want you to succeed. You can do that virtually, right? I mean, you don't have to be necessarily in a city that's full of Elon Musks all sitting at the bar, and you can go sit with them.
No, I mean, the neat thing about today's world is I would consider myself best friends with people I've never met in person. I have an accountant, Sandy, who's been doing my books now for 10 years and I've never met her. And she's a friend, right? So I really believe that, I was actually talking about the word friend today with my good friend Heather, because she was like, I use the word all the time and I feel like it's not appropriate. And I go, but friend really just means trust, right? Because you could say, I know this person. Right. But if you say, hey, my friend, John, that's saying I trust that person. And that to me is the difference between, I know or I'm aware of this person versus he's my friend. So, I've been fortunate enough to travel the world speaking to thousands of entrepreneurs, either through Clarity, on Skype, through interviews like this one. And there's a lot of people that I haven't met in person, but I would definitely consider them friends because the energy, the vibe, the feeling, my gut tells me they're good people that are trying to create a better world to live in. And it doesn't take a whole lot for me to like a person. You just don't be bad. Don't be an asshole.
Well said. Well said. And I like the clarification because, I'm from a small town. And one of the big reasons why I started a podcast was it gets me to be able to talk to like brilliant people like yourself. This week I got to talk to Seth Godin and you.
Yeah, and I saw you interview Chris Brogan, who's an amazing guy and a huge, huge advocate of clarity. And those are the examples where you figured out a way to create value for people that you don't know. That's win-win. This is why I do podcast interviews, because you've got a platform and you let me share my story, and in return, obviously it's appreciated. And I just think it doesn't take a whole lot. My version of that is I host lunches, right? Every week I organize an 8-person lunch. And when I'm on the road, I do that every day, all 3 meals. So I've been doing this for 10 years and there's no motivation. I'm not trying to network or try to build a relationship with somebody or take advantage of a situation. I'm genuinely interested in people. I like my friends and I like to spend time with them. And, if I meet somebody new on Saturday, I usually say, hey, why don't you come to my house on Wednesday? And I introduce them to my other friends. And again, I've been doing that forever. I can't even tell you how many of thousands of people I've brought together over a meal. And it's just who I am. And anybody can do that. I don't pay for the meal. I just organize it.
Wow. I was introduced to you through a friend.
Totally.
I was trying to go on his blog. It's there's no email. There's no anything. It's oh, but wait a minute. I met somebody on Clarity who knows you. And I remember when I was in the Philippines and I first met him through email, and and then he told me when we talked that he knows you, the owner of Clarity. And I was just that's interesting, that I do this call with this guy. And now he happens to know the guy that started Clarity.
But John, it's such a powerful concept because in investing, I've invested in 33 startups as an angel investor. It's kind of something I do to relieve my ADHD of shiny objects when I see some cool market opportunity and I'm building my company, right? It was really, that's why I angel invest. There's no financial reasons. I love this space. I'm too busy with Clarity or my current startup. So here's some money, go tackle it. And if I can be helpful, cool. And there's a great saying in that world, which is, I don't want to meet you. I want to be introduced to you. And that is just such a great way to think about approaching life, right? And think about what kind of feeling, or how would somebody have to feel to feel comfortable to introduce you to somebody else, right? And are you creating that feeling, or are you creating the opposite where they don't really get you? And there's just so much that we could talk about around that conversation, but I feel like the future is really going to be, because information on who knows who is so broad. I mean, Clarity, you can go on LinkedIn, you can go anywhere to talk to somebody, but it's harder and harder now because people are so public to get their attention unless somebody they trust essentially recommends or introduces you.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. But also, if you don't have that connection, you can do it. I mean, Chris Brogan, I emailed him and I made a personal 2-minute super budget video with my iPhone, just telling him what I know about him, why I think we could have a great conversation, and how it would help him and me. And if you do it, you can do it. I mean, you're not necessarily stuck if you
know. And that's the thing is nobody's ever stuck. It's kind of like the quality. It's like, of course, it would have been a lot, easier for him to have one of his good friends say, hey, meet John. But, creativity, I think just people, it's actually back to the story, right? People want to be around people that they feel are interesting, moving forward. And if they did spend time with them, that it would be time well spent. And you obviously got that across in your 2-minute video. And if you didn't get a response, who cares? Keep doing it. Do the next one. I mean, that's the difference between people that get stuff done and those that just think about it all day.
Yeah. Seth Godin in August told me, he responded right away, said, sorry, I can't do it. And then I saw something come up and I was like, actually, he has this new book. He wants people to be giving it away. And so I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy some of the books. I'm going to give them away on my podcast. And I would like to have you on. Yes, let's do it. And he booked it for 2 days later.
Done. Yeah. I mean, this is funny. I'm going to be the first person to admit to this. We're not as busy as people think we are. And when we say no because we're busy is a lie. We're just saying no because we have other better things to do. And we don't understand how this is going to be valuable. And that is your responsibility of the person to try to say, instead of you spending an extra 30 minutes writing another blog post, spend 30 minutes being interviewed on my podcast or whatnot. And that's the beauty of the world we live in, is if you're creative enough, you can get through that.
Okay, Dan, you're a super positive guy, and I love that about you, but there's things that probably don't always go right. So struggles and failures, right? As entrepreneurs, even just as people, one of our greatest fears, I think, is the fear of being wrong and just making a mistake and completely failing. I know that when you were 18, you started your first 2 businesses and they were failures. And I'm sure there's been more and you've invested in more. What have you learned, and how can you walk us through how to be wrong?
Yeah, well, so people need to understand, I got to go way back to when I was a teenager. I mean, I grew up what I like to call jokingly a colorful childhood, right? And pretty much by the time I was 17, I found myself in jail twice and rehab for drug-related charges. So, when we think about being wrong and taking risks, it's kind of, I feel like I have an unfair advantage because I've been so far on one end that anything I do that's not illegal is just such a blessing to my family. So, and now I do live a really charmed life. I feel, great relationship with my friends and family and everything. But, I really just don't care that much about being wrong. What I care about is hurting people unintentionally. But in regards to my fear of trying something and failing, it's pretty low, just because I've never looked at not accomplishing something I set out to do as a failure. I look at it as an opportunity to learn. And the only question I ask myself on a daily basis is, am I living in my magic zone, and am I outside of my comfort zone? Right. And this is John Maxwell, a brilliant author, kind of talks about this. And the magic zone is this what I'm meant to be here on earth to do? And that can evolve. And the comfort zone is really simple. Do I feel scared about this? And I've just gotten to a point where if I can't answer this is uncomfortable, then I got to do something to change it. So that might mean, I'm writing a blog post every day for the next 30 days. It's super uncomfortable to write blog posts every day to have the world judge it. And I suck at writing. I mean, we were just talking about how the fact that I get people emailing me every time I hit publish, I wait for the emails and they fix my typos. And that's just the way it is. And it's a great relationship with my readers. So that, those are just really small examples, right? But that's just the way I look at it. I don't look at it as failure. I think it's a failure if I can't answer, yes, I'm scared and outside my comfort zone for too many days in a row.
Excellent. So you hit publish, people respond and say, oh, you have a spelling mistake here, Dan.
They're amazing. They'll send me they'll copy my blog and they'll highlight in red the right spelling. And then I essentially take that email, go through, and it's amazing. But I ask for it. I say, look, if there's anything that is confusing, because sometimes when I'm writing, my writing approach, because I know that if I overthink it, I won't do it. I just get it out, edit a little bit, hit publish, and then iterate. It's kind of how I build startups, right? I get the first version out knowing it'll probably be wrong. And then as I get feedback from the users and the customers, I tweak and iterate. And, after in startup world, a few months, in blog world, a few minutes or hours, I feel like the piece is pretty good.
I love that you not only do that, but you admit that you do that, especially with just publishing a blog post. I thought I was the only one. I hit publish and then I read it on the page and it's like, this mistake.
Doesn't make no sense. Who would write that? Why? What word is that? I've never used that word, I think that is the problem is we get inside our head. But, again, I like to scare myself and writing for the next 30 days is definitely scary because I'm scared I'm going to run out of topics. I'm scared that I'm going to be writing about stuff that's not interesting, et cetera, et cetera. But, for whatever it is for you, I think the world is just a better place to live in when you can answer, yes, I'm in my magic zone in regards to what I'm working on and how I work and the type of work I get to do, plus outside my comfort zone. For me, raising money and building a tech startup, not scary at all. Zero, almost boring, repetitive. I've done it now so many times. Trying to bring a company public, yeah, that's scary as crap, right? I've never done it. What does that mean? How would my day look like? What kind of team would I need? So it's kind of like asking myself, what are the next set of goals that kind of freak me out a bit because that's when I'm happiest.
This is interesting. It's super easy for a startup and then to get funding. You have no problem with this at all.
I could do that in my sleep.
And this is amazing because I've created businesses, but to me, the funding world is completely out there and distant. And I honestly wouldn't even know how to start. First of all, how do you know what's the feeling or what tells you that you need funding for this business rather than I just need customers to pay me? And
yeah, totally. I'm going to answer one question you didn't ask, but I feel is important. It's, I'm scared because I've never done this and I wouldn't even know where to start. The good news is, John, and you know this, every time you come up with an idea for something you've never done, you feel that way, right? And over time, you just notice that you figure it out. You have a system for figuring things out and you just keep taking bigger shots on goal, right? Maybe they don't always go in, but at least you're taking the shot. So, the first time I raised money, didn't know what I was doing, ended up closing our round in 21 days. Second time I did it in 7 days and I have amazing world-class investors like Mark Cuban, who's a billionaire. He's a cool dude, great investor. But, so I think that that's normal and it's scary. And I think, people should just, if they feel it's good. Now, the second question you asked, how do you know when you need money? The question, the answer is simple is when you feel like you're working on a problem that has a big enough market and that you could potentially scale that business and that problem in a 7-year period to 100 million in revenue and be honest with yourself that that is the potential outcome, then you may be in a good spot to raise venture capital, right? Now, it's not about having an idea. It's about proving it out. So every company I've ever started, before I've raised money, we were generating revenues and there was some level of unit economics. I actually wrote a blog post 2 days ago about customer unit economics. And that's where I got inspired is I understood in the beginning days of Clarity and Flowtown and every company, here's how a customer monetizes and here's the payback period and here's the margins, here's the market opportunity. And I could map that out to any investor and say, this is why I think it's a big, meaningful thing. Just so you know, though, if you discover that's not true, you've got to either shut the business down or pivot. So you got to be okay with that. The other thing is there's a very high probability that if it is successful, that you own a very small percentage of your company. The Mark Zuckerbergs of the world is a very rare case. And more likely than not, financially, you'll never see any financial reward from that startup because once you raise money, there's two incentives. It's either shut it down or build something big, and there's no money. So, I feel like people underestimate or overvalue raising capital in regards to living the ideal day, right? People say they want to be rich, but they don't. What they want is the ideal day. And that's where you should start in regards to, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Beautifully said. And so at first, when you were talking about this, you said 7-year period, your business has to
100 million gross
100
revenue.
million gross revenue. And so first I thought, okay, John, you're just not thinking big enough.
Yeah, no, that's honestly a fair assessment, and one that I think is what I got taught when I moved to San Francisco.
Unless happiness comes from just living the ideal day every day.
And I think and honestly, I think you can do both. I just think most people don't think about them, right? They don't think about, could this be $100 million company in 7 years, and what would need to be true to have that happen? Or what is my ideal day, right? And how much money would I really need? And is this problem that I think is venture backable worth my life, right? I'm going to go back to my blog because I've been writing all this stuff down. But, John Assaraf says, he's a great quote. It says, ask not if you're worthy of your goals. Ask instead, is your goals worthy of your life? I think that reframes everything I do. Anytime I'm on the edge of something, I go, you know what? Is this even worth my time in my life? Because you don't get a second shot.
You don't.
Right. So it's not about, this is a sure thing, it's going to make $100 million in 7 years. It's like, but if it succeeds, are you going to be happy? Do you want to be in that industry? Do you love your customers? Do you love your team? Do you want those investors? And you got to be honest with yourself, because you don't get another shot.
I don't know if you know that feeling when you've been exposed to a new idea or a new frame of looking at an idea. And you just did that to me.
Thanks, man. I mean, that's why I spend so much time with people way smarter than me, because it's a daily occurrence.
Yeah. And it's true. I had Eric Bond on here, and he has a blog now called Life After Liquidity, because he's built up a company during college at Stanford and then ended up selling it himself and got out of it for the last 2 years. Just him and his wife been traveling the world on sabbatical. And now he's back in, I think, San Francisco he's going to get back into business. But he said that he didn't want to feel greedy, but as soon as he sold his company, he learned that you have to be happy with what it is you're trying to get to and then what it is you get, because he thought that obviously selling his company, this is the whole thing he had worked for. And then the first thing was he went out to celebrate with some friends and instantly heard about somebody who got acquired for more money than him. And he was just like, maybe I didn't get enough. Maybe I didn't do this. And he's like, in the best time of my life, when I should have been celebrating, I was actually well, and he's like, you have to go into these things and I guess fully understand. Like you say, it sounds like, I just want to be rich, or I just want to own this venture-backed company, but maybe that's not what you want.
Well, no, I mean, I learned that exact same lesson when I sold my company Spheric. The day after the transaction closed, money in the bank, more money than I'd ever seen or thought would ever exist. Again, I grew up pretty much on the street, so it was truly a magical day. I was like 28. I woke up depressed because for the first time in 4 years and really in a long time, nobody cared if I did anything that day. Nobody cared if I went to work. Nobody cared for my feedback, my advice. Essentially, I did not matter to anybody in the world. And that was a really lonely place to be. I mean, it was bad. I had to go see a therapist to tell me to walk around with a rock because I was getting anxiety attacks. It was weird. And the lesson I learned, luckily, I believe I was lucky, I'd blessed at 28, was don't let your business define who you are. And what I had done is essentially my self-worth was that company. And when that company was no longer mine and under my control and I wasn't associated to it, my self-worth was with that. And that's just, I did not do that with Flowtown and had a great experience after we got acquired. And I have not done that with Clarity.
Those are things, again, like I would never think that would happen. You would think you got the money in the bank, right? It's all gold.
No, John, I call them high quality problems or champagne problems. Like, as the bigger the game you play, the bigger the challenges and the different the perspective. But at the end of the day, the feelings are always going to be the same. The highs are high and the lows are low. And it's just different things you're working with. But it's the same feelings. Like your downs and my downs are the same in regards to the feeling and how it affects us. It's just the things we're tackling just look different. Mm-hmm. And that's just a really great way to understand that you're no different than anybody else, and that you should have empathy for the guy just starting off, or for the guy that's building a $10 billion company, because he has those same insecurities, those same feelings of, imposter syndrome, because no matter what he's doing, he's probably doing it for the first time, and it's scary as crap.
It is. You're amazing, Dan.
I have a lot of fun, man. That's my thing.
That's the thing. That's good. It shows. And I think that helps, obviously. But if something horrible happened and your career was to end today, Dan, do you think that you'd be happy with the legacy that you've left behind so far?
1,100% so far. That being said, I'm working on something pretty special. I don't know when I'm going to release it. That is the one thing in my life that I feel I should have done 7 years ago, and I've been holding back, that I want to get done. So super happy so far. A little sad if I don't get that out, but I'm not too far away. We're talking a few weeks. So yeah, no, really, I mean, legacy is such a funny word. I feel blessed that we live in a world where a lot of things have been documented, this podcast, my blog posts, etc., where, because I have 2 little boys now, they're 1 and 2. And I thought that to myself, if something happened to me, I really haven't documented outside of like these tech business stuff, my views and values on life. And that's why I decided to start blogging, and I'm looking at doing more video, and, just, I think documenting that, because that to me is legacy, right? When your ideas and your approach to life can live on way past your time on earth.
Very well said. So we've talked about it a lot. It's been mentioned in passing with us. Clarity FM. It is an amazing thing that I think everybody should know about and use. And I would just like if you just quickly just tell everybody about it, give them the pitch, and tell them where to go find out.
I would love to. Yeah. So Clarity, it's clarity.fm's a website. It's a marketplace for business advice. We help entrepreneurs get connected with experts in hundreds of different industries and topics. We have 40,000 verified experts. We've done 200,000 calls across, I think we just broke 85 countries. Guys like Chris Brogan, Eric Rees on the Lean Startup, Heaton Shaw from Kissmetrics, and guys like Rick Marini, who's raised $100 million. You want to talk about raising money? $100 million. He's the guy I turn to. He's available on Clarity, et cetera, et cetera. So, I built it because I grew up in a small town with no, we were talking earlier about the best advice I have is my buddy Nick. And I seen the complete polar opposite living in San Francisco. And I just felt there needed to be a way to tap into that resource and make it available for the rest of the world. And that's my mission in life, is to do that and continue to grow it. And that's Clarity.
Yeah. And it truly is amazing. I mean, I'm on there and I do calls with people, but the fact that, you can sit down with Dan Martell or Chris Brogan or any of these guys literally for next to nothing. It's amazing. And get a call booked within a couple days. Like if you're stuck on something, or you have this idea and you just need to bounce it off a brilliant person, like, wow. It's so obvious the Clarity needed to exist.
And that's the thing. It's like you see it and you go, why has nobody built this yet? And and the truth is it is hard. Marketplaces are hard. Liquidity, expectations, transactions, ratings, reviews, verifications, everything is hard. But the need was so important that I said to myself, I would devote my life to solving this problem and be super happy even if it never worked.
And it's changing, or going to change, at least like millions of people's lives, that the fact they have this access.
Billion positively affected within 10 years, and we're 2.5 years in, and got a lot of work to do, but that's my goal.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, good luck with it. You don't need luck, I don't think, because you've got some serious skills behind you. But thank you so much, Dan, for your time. I truly appreciate it. And yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, because it's awesome.
Absolutely my pleasure.
Dan Martell. Holy, wow. Some of the things he said there, I wasn't kidding at all. He totally stumped me. I didn't know what to do. And he's changed my thinking on business in a way that I guess will never go back. And yeah, you got to obviously think big and go for big things and surround yourself with people doing bigger things than yourself. So this was a hard one. There's a lot here. He just kept dropping stuff for us, but there's one that I need to go back to because I think it's really, really, really important for everyone to get. So let's do it. Let's find the hack.
We're not as busy as people think we are. And when we say no because we're busy is a lie. We're just saying no because we have other better things to do and we don't understand how this is going to be valuable. And that is your responsibility of the person to try to say, instead of you spending an extra 30 minutes writing another blog post, spend 30 minutes being interviewed on my podcast or whatnot. And that's the beauty of the world we live in, is if you're creative enough, you can get through that.
And that's the hack. Wow, Dan, so well said. And this is something that I've tried to tell people, and I've never been able to say it as well as Dan just said it, because it's true. People aren't as busy as they say they are. Don't tell them they're busy. They don't want to hear it. They want to know what the value is to them. As giving as people are, they still need to get value out of helping you or listening to you or coming on your show or helping you with your business or funding your business. It's just the way it is. People need to see the value, and you have to provide that for them. And until you do that, you're not going to get the help or the attention that you want. It's just that easy. So thank you so much for that, Dan. So this has been another amazing episode, Hack the Entrepreneur. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I really, 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 truly appreciate it. If you haven't yet, please go to iTunes, Hack the Entrepreneur. Leave me a rating and a review. It would help out the show so much. Last time I checked, we had 99 5-star reviews. It's amazing, guys. And I would really, really, truly appreciate if you could just go leave one. Let us know what you think. And it helps the show out so much. It helps me get more amazing guests like Dan Martell. Until next time, keep hacking the entrepreneur.